Hello there everybody, this is CwapTheNintendin here, and welcome to another episode of Platinum Impressions. Today, we are going to be talking about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, a game that's been hyped up for years, and is finally here, so let's get into it. I'm surprised that I've gotten through Splatoon in like under 15 minutes and 30 seconds, like holy crap. It all begins in 2014. Nintendo's best E3 ever. We got our first look at the newest Zelda game for the Wii U that comes out in 2015. 2015. What a lie of the year. I mean, all we got was Splatoon and Xenoblade X. I mean, come on. But there was no Zelda. Nothing at all. We knew next to nothing other than the fact that it was going to be the first open world 3D Zelda game where you could go into any dungeon in any order. But then, after nothing for so long, E3 2016 came along, and Zelda Breath of the Wild was going to be the big focus, and pretty much the only playable Nintendo game that was playable. It was a bad idea, we said. It was stupid, we said. But nope, Nintendo freaking proved us wrong. Breath of the Wild became the most talked about game of the show because of Nintendo showing off the game on stream for basically every hour on the hour, along with a little Pokemon Sun and Moon, as well as some other games that nobody really cared about. But soon it became clear that the Switch was also being hyped up. And of course, there would be a version on the Switch. And so it was. So with everything in place, the Switch and Breath of the Wild for the Wii U and Switch launched on the same day, and was it worth it? You know the answer already. You know the answer. I've been playing for over 140 hours, and there's no way I'm gonna stop anytime soon. 10,000 years ago, Calamity Ganon said, "Hey, I'ma destroy your place, Hyrule," and Link and Zelda are like, "Nuh-uh." So Link and Zelda and the majestic divine beasts were like, nope, and they decided to kill him. And that was the ancient legend of, you know, beating Calamity Ganon's butthole. 10,000 years later, Zelda appoints 4 champions from the various races of Hyrule. Mipha the Zora, Urbosa the Gerudo, Falco the Rivali, Falco, and Daruk the Goron to pilot the divine beasts, which in Zelda terms, they're basically Zords. Just in case Calamity Ganon ever rises again. And Link becomes the chosen hero because he got that fancy Master Sword. But surprise! Calamity Ganon awakes again and kills off the 4 champions and almost kills Link, with only Zelda surviving the Great Destruction. Link is put into what is essentially a healing tank in the form of the Shrine of Resurrection, which he awakes from 100 years later, with no memories whatsoever. Upon arriving at the Great Plateau and exiting the Shrine of Resurrection, he meets up with an old man there, and after going through various shrines to get the old man some treasures from said shrines, he tells Link about what happened 100 years ago. And from then on, it's Link's job to take back the Divine Beast from Ganon's control, and gather the tools he needs in order to defeat the Calamity and save Zelda. So, what I just described in the backstory is all optional to learn, but required if you want the true ending if you decide to go after those memories. One of the main side quests is regaining the lost memories from 100 years ago, which are unlocked during your Divine Beast quest, or visiting specific locations. The lore actually does make sense when you gather all the memories in tow. I mean, you don't really need them, but you know, it's there if you want it. In fact, if I could go on a tangent a little bit, go off script, most of after pretty much the Great Plateau ends, you can go anywhere. Everything is entirely open to you, including getting the Divine Beasts, which are entirely optional. Pretty much the big thing about this game is that you can go anywhere so long as you get past the Great Plateau. You can go to Hyrule Castle and, you know, defeat Calamity Ganon right away and save Zelda. I mean, if you want your head being ripped off, then go right ahead, be my guest, but it's pretty much, you know, a thing that you can do. just make sure that you are prepared for it because, oh my god, you pretty much want those divine beasts if you want to make the Calamity Ganon fight much easier for yourself. Anyway, in terms of the characters, like, we have our usual, like, Link, Zelda, and Ganon, you know, triangle thing. But let's talk about Zelda for a second, because this Zelda is a Zelda that gets screwed. We all know from... Yeah, that was a burp, excuse me. We all know from Zelda Past that Zelda can be a very strong character when the games allow her to be, like in Skyward Sword, where she has an amazing personality, or Toon Zelda where she's in the action sometimes. This Zelda, in Breath of the Wild, is not only British for some reason, but is also seen as a failure because of the fact that she can't harness her powers despite her efforts. She becomes jealous of Link because he's got the Master Sword and the skills to become a great hero in the eyes of Hyrule, before forming a friendship with him. You can honestly see that struggle in certain memories if you decide to go after him. And, you know, it's good. This Zelda is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie when you say this Zelda is pretty damn good. The 4 champions also have their quirks as well. Mipha's in love with you because reasons. Falco, Revali, Falco is seen as a rival to Link because Link's got the sword while he doesn't. He's basically Falco. Urbosa's kind-natured to others as well as Zelda, and Daruk's the big dude with a bombastic theme song, which is fantastic. Also, voice acting. Yes, technically Hyrule Warriors does have an inkling of voice acting, but that's only in narration. As the first major Zelda title to have voice-acted cutscenes, you know, when you decide to go after, you know, the memories and such, it's honestly either hit or miss for me. Some of the voice actors like Urbosa's and Revali's do fine enough jobs as they are. But, you know, I'm sorry, Bill Rogers, who is the king of Hyrule, it doesn't really sound like you're playing a strong king. It just sounds like you're doing a normal voice. You could even do, like, Lucario's voice in that fact, and you would still get a much more believable performance than that. But Zelda's voice actress is sort of a mixed bag for me, because while she can do fine, it's just during those big emotional moments, she unfortunately really can't pull it off. But thankfully, a recent patch made it so that dual audio options became available. So now you can listen to those amazing Japanese voice acting, and trust me, it's pretty damn good. Really the only thing that I'm kind of disappointed in is, you know, Link. Because, you know, you get to see Link in the memories as well. But once again, just like in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, he's back to being a piece of wood after we had that amazing Link in Skyward Sword and Wind Waker. I'm sorry, like, he does have a bit of personality when you're going after the Divine Beast. There's this one moment where you have to go after the Gerudo Divine Beast, and, you know, in order to get into Gerudo Town, you have to disguise yourself as a Gerudo, and thankfully this guy offers you some Gerudo clothes. And he does the whole Link does the whole surprise face thing, and that was hilarious. It really is hilarious. Like, that was to show that Link actually did have a bit of personality in him. But unfortunately, for the sake of story, he doesn't have that kind of thing. I mean, to be fair, there is an in-game reason for that. But honestly, him being a piece of cardboard just sucks. I'd rather have a Link that would be, you know, filled with a lot of personality and expressions rather than, you know, just a piece of cardboard. But hey, if the game is fun enough, that is all that matters. And believe me, this game is so much fun. Breath of the Wild is the first open world Zelda in a very long time. Considering that Skyward Sword's linear nature was mixed for a lot of people, it would only make sense that the development team would go back to the roots of the series and change up the formula as a result. Once you step out of the Resurrection Shrine and see the world you explore in after about 5 minutes of getting your basic gear and clothing in there, you know you want to go everywhere, because look at this. This is a huge world to cover. And trust me, you're going to spend your time in the Great Plateau just getting the basic idea of how the game works, without someone constantly explaining everything to you. And, you know, as much as I like the guide characters in Zelda, being able to go wherever I want without my hand being held nearly the whole time was a big refresher. You basically go around gathering stuff, whether it's weapons, shields, bows, food materials, you know, all that stuff. You got your traditional control setup to work well with motion controls added for aiming, and even force ones for shrines, which, to be fair, it works. After the heavily motion-based Skyward Sword, TLDR, that game is still good. I don't know what anyone's talking about. You'll be fighting all sorts of enemies while keeping an eye on your weapon durability. Every weapon, bow, and shield has a limit on how much they can be used, and unless you find a lot of weapons to use, you're gonna have a hard time surviving enemies, which is gonna happen anyway, because this game will kick your balls. Like, the enemy type doesn't even really matter, it's the strength of their weapons that really can kill you. Like, even if you have enough gear to basically get your defense through the roof, nothing is going to prepare you for, you know, just the game kicking your butt with its very strong weapons at times. Learning how to use your shield and playing this game smart with combat are basically needed to not die, basically. Especially considering at certain locales, you'll be able to fight huge mini-bosses such as Hinoxes from Link's Awakening and the new Stone Taluses. But if you defeat them, your hard efforts will be rewarded with good materials and good weapons to boot. Now, why did I say playing the game smart in combat? Well, that's what the new Sheikah Slate is for. From the very outset, this is your main tool for mapping out the area from those huge Sheikah towers you activate at the beginning. Not only that, but in those first 4 shrines that you visit for the Old Man's Treasures, you get the slate's runes that you can use throughout the game. You get bombs in cube and round shape. You can use stasis for stopping an object or an enemy in its place, cryonesis for creating ice platforms across the water, and magnesis for lifting up heavy objects. These runes can be very, very helpful in combat just in case you run low on weapon durability. And they're great for exploration as well. People find very, very creative ways to use these runes. Like, just in case you run into an enemy base, or an enemy camp or whatever, and you have metal objects, you can use magnesis to basically bonk enemies on the head until they die. It's actually really damn great and a good creative way to take combat with things. It's really, really great. There's also a camera rune that you can use where you can take pictures to fill up your Hyrule Compendium, or you can take selfies just like in Wind Waker HD. There we go, look at that, I'm about to die. And as an option, you can use the Amiibo Rune as well. It unlocks after you complete the Great Plateau, and with all of your Amiibo, you can get various materials. However, if you get the Zelda Amiibo, such as the 30th Anniversary Amiibo, the Smash Bros. Zelda Amiibos, you can sometimes get exclusive Amiibo clothing, mainly Link's tunics, caps, and boots from various eras, like Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, or Twilight Princess. So, yeah, it's a pretty damn great way to use Amiibo, and, you know, all of your Amiibo can do it. So, yeah, use those Amiibo away. Just do it. After going through a Divine Beast, you gain an ability from one of the 4 champions to make things a lot easier for herself. So, going after Daruk's Divine Beast, it gives you a 3-hit invincible shield. Urbosa's ability is to shock enemies into dropping their stuff. Like, you charge up your attack, and then you can just let the electricity fly out in a huge area. Like, it covers a lot of areas. Holy shit, it does. And shocking actually makes enemies drop their weapons, so you can just steal their stuff while you're damaging the enemies. Mipha's ability is an auto revive, just like a fairy does, only you get additional temporary hearts, so yeah, it's pretty damn good. And my personal favorite, Revali's Gale, because holy shit, I really love this ability. I went after his Divine Beast first, and when I got that ability, I was smiling from ear to ear. Exploration is made so much easier because simply by jumping and holding down the jump button, you can get a huge amount of air, so you can just soar through the air on your paraglider, which you get after you complete the Great Plateau. It's amazing. It really does make exploration all the more fun to me, and You know, you can turn off these abilities if you want, but I'd rather keep them on. I love these abilities so much, and it's a great incentive for completing all the Divine Beast dungeons. So, I talked about shrines a bit. Let's actually talk about them. They're basically the mini dungeons of this game, and there are 120 of them. They offer up different challenges for you, whether it's as simple as defeating a small guardian, this little robot thing that Hyrule built in order to combat Ganon's evil, which have turned against us, and there are huge guardians everywhere, holy shit. Or you can solve a complicated series of puzzles. But does the game offer you advice? No. Like I said, there's no hand-holding in Breath of the Wild, because Nintendo fans realize that you played a video game before, and we don't need that shit. Skyward Sword, as much as I love you, you can get a little too hand-holdy. And Breath of the Wild is basically the complete opposite of that nature. Each time you clear a shrine, you get a Spirit Orb. Get 4 of them, and you can increase your hearts or stamina meter. This also counts for the 4 Divine Beasts, which serve as the main dungeons for the game. I've heard some people talk about, you know, Divine Beasts not really being dungeons, but come on, you solve puzzles, you activate those terminals, you beat a boss. It's not really the standard Zelda formula, which, you know, the standard formula is you go through a dungeon, solve puzzles, beat a mini-boss, get the dungeon item, use said dungeon item, and then beat the boss, and then get a heart container. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing here. I mean, the runes are all you need, admittedly. You get all your tools that you get immediately before, you know, you clear the Great Plateau. But, you know, these are dungeons, you know, you have to figure out things in order to activate all of the terminals to take back the control of the Divine Beasts. So, yeah, it's pretty good. So in order to tackle each Divine Beast, you have to disable its functions through an awesome gameplay sequence every time, and it's so good that you only do it one time, which is a damn shame. But it's like I said before, the resulting Divine Beasts, they can be quite the brain teasers, even though they basically amount to body rotation puzzles. But hey, it was really cool the first time. I got stumped on a lot of puzzles, believe you me. I was playing this game at PAX, I was trying to get the Bird Divine Beast, and, you know, I got stumped. I had to figure out things all on my own. See, Nintendo realizes that you played a video game before. What I didn't get stumped on the other hand, were the boss fights. Most of them were pretty easy, except for the Gerudo Divine Beast. That Thunderblight Ganon was a bitch. He really was. But considering that you can get the most powerful weapons in the game, like, right away, including the Master Sword, which is optional, which, you know, they went back to the Zelda 1 design where you have to get a lot of hearts in order to even get it, before taking on even one beast. You can pretty much deck yourself out with a lot of really good stuff and basically snap the game in half. Especially if you're going after not only the most powerful weapons in the game, but also going after, you know, all the shrines that you possibly can. Unless you are a Lionel. Those things hit like a truck no matter what you do, even if you cook up materials to basically raise your defense or attack power or speed or stealth, or you can or whether you decide to upgrade your gear using the Great Fairy's power. So, yeah, those guys can be pretty damn tough. It's like I said, this game will kick your balls. Hard. If I had to complain about one thing about the game, it would be that certain mechanics sound like they blend together even though they actually didn't. The Elden region is very hot, and from the sound of it, you need, and you know, from the sound of it, it looks like you need a heat-resistant elixir, but it turns out that you need a fireproof material in order to not kill yourself, so I just sort of went all the way to Goron City in order to get fireproof materials, or armor and stuff, and that was just painful. Like, I didn't even know that, you know, fireproof even existed because, you know, I went for the Elden Divine Beast last, but, Jesus, that was just painful to go through. I nearly died. A lot. I had to cook a lot of healing materials. I had to cook up a lot of steaks, a lot of kebabs, a lot of things just to get through there. Until I found out on Twitter that there was a guy who offered you a fireproof elixir anyway, so what the hell? Oh, and another thing to talk about. The Koroks. Returning from Wind Waker, you'll find the little tree people called Koroks, and you'll find them as you explore, from lifting rocks, doing little mini challenges, and to be fair, the Korok seeds do expand your inventory space, including your weapons, shields, and bow inventory. But guess how many there are? Guess how many there are? There are 900 of them. 900. I haven't found 100 of them. Thank God I got the DLC so I can access the Korok Max to help them find me easier. And also, no, I'm not going to complain about the DLC being $20 because it's Zelda and it's day one. Your precious Call of Duty Advanced Warfare is $50 DLC pass and Persona 5 is $127 and I have a brain. I don't know what you people are talking about. It's $20. It's not that much. You people are just complaining. You're just being crybabies. Okay, in all seriousness though, like, an actual legit complaint that I have with the story is that it could have added some material because, you know, it feels like there is a whole lot more to the story than the game is actually leading on. Like there's a memory during the Divine Beast quest that you can unlock where Mipha and Link are talking about, you know, Mipha always healing Link whenever he gets injured, and, you know, they seem to be in a relationship. If they just explored the fact a little bit more, then that probably would have made her character stronger. I mean, to be fair, the champions, they have fine enough characters as they are, but I just wish they added a lot more to it, if I could, you know, say that. You know, it could have added a lot more weight to their scenes after reclaiming their divine beasts, you know. Also, the fact that things in the main story don't pick up after you start the Divine Beast quest makes me think of Majora's Mask in a way. Like, in Clock Town, you have to wait 3 days until you encounter the Skull Kid, then you turn back into a human, and then you basically go after the 4 giants in order to, you know, take down the Skull Kid. And, you know, that can get a little samey at points. It's kind of the same thing here. But hey, who am I to complain about my favorite video game of all time, am I right? But yeah, all I'm saying is that the Divine Beast quest, while it's fun, it can get a little bit repetitive if you decide to go after them. Things only really pick up when you decide to tackle Hyrule Castle, but only somewhat without giving too much away. Because, you know, this game's plot basically amounts to, you save Zelda, the end. And can I just say right now, this game looks beautiful. It's like if Skyward Sword were remade in 1080p. The views, just like in Xenoblade, are gorgeous to look at. And just like that, I like to leave the game on, just to view some of those sexy, sexy landscapes. Plus I can show those views to people who hadn't gotten the chance to play it yet. In fact, I already did, which is absolutely amazing. It's basically the same case as Xenoblade, if I could really think of that. The music for me kinda goes both ways, from minimalistic pianos when you're traveling through nature, to those traditional sound themes and grand tunes during boss encounters. It's that full orchestra at work, and those rearrangements of Zora's Domain and Dragon Roost Island for Rito Village are just beautiful to listen to. Like, seriously, go listen to this game's soundtrack, it's actually pretty damn good. And you know, some people may not like the minimalistic approach, you know, it's mostly ambience throughout the game. But honestly, like, I'm having too much fun with the game to even care about that. Like, if I'm gonna be perfectly frank here. So with that is Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Pretty much just like Pokemon Sun and Moon, it doesn't really aim to celebrate the anniversary of the series. I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of Easter eggs in Breath of the Wild that refer back to earlier games in the series. But what it mainly does do is change up the formula that has worked for years and made the new formula work. I've been into open games pretty much since Xenoblade Chronicles, and I can safely say that as an open world game, it sucks you in with its emphasis on exploration. Sure, I can see people not liking this game as a Zelda title, with the voice acting being not as good as it usually is, and the lure of exploring an open landscape with enemies and stuff, and, you know, nothing really to do except climbing and climbing a lot. If you're not into that sort of thing, I can understand why. But for the rest of us, Breath of the Wild is a fantastic way to send off the Wii U and bring in the new era for the Nintendo Switch. I don't regret spending nearly $400 on the whole Breath of the Wild package. That is the Switch, the game, and the DLC. I have no life and no job. If Zelda's gonna go in this direction for the next game, then Nintendo has to make it so it's like the Majora's Mask of this type of game. I know that's asking a lot, mind you, like, make the world even more interesting, but, you know, this game is going to be a hard act to follow. Like, if they announce the next game within a few years, and it goes the same open world direction, then, you know, rest assured, I'm going to pick it up, and I'm probably going to enjoy it a lot. And that was probably my phone going off because, because I freaking suck at, you know, keeping my phone on vibrate. So yeah, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. If you have a Wii U, get this game. If you're planning on getting the Switch, get it with this game. It is absolutely incredible, and it's basically the big reason why the Switch is doing so well right now. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Hope you enjoyed them, and next time on Platinum Impressions, it's 6 games in 1. We're going to talk about the Sonic the Hedgehog 8-bit games. So, I'll see you guys on the next time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. And now I leave you with, you know, Zelda's quote-unquote emotional moment with both English and Japanese voice acting.
I left them all to die.
Okay, honey, you're doing good, but take notes from the Japanese voice actors, man. Skyward Sword Zelda really knows how to sell it.
Yeah, but